Hello everybody and welcome back to Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson, and today I have a repotting video and staking up of my beautiful plant here. This is my beautiful Epipremnum aureum goldum, and this plant just wants to carry on growing out for me, so it's going to be too big for this little stake that it's on very soon. So I've decided to redo the whole thing because I want to make it into a more spreading plant on a lovely trellis. And well, I can see from this one leaf here that's just come out recently that the leaves are starting to get really big. And even though the vine is hanging over to the side, this is happening. And then it's had, well, the one just before was big, then this one got even bigger, this one's just coming out and it will probably get even bigger, and then there's a new leaf already on the way out. So I know this plant wants to grow and expand. It's really happy, it's really healthy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to relieve it of all the metal pins that are holding it onto this cocoa fibre stake, and I will be pulling any roots out that are growing into this cocoa fibre stake. And I've done this with many other plants and done videos on that before, so I know that it's not going to be harmful for the plant. I will pull out the roots as much as I can, and any that are fixed too well into the cocoa fibre, I can prune those off because they are aerial roots and I know the plant will survive with that bit that's left. It has plenty of roots down in the soil. And this is a wonderful and easy plant to take care of. So I'm going to get on with that straight away now. I've already mixed my soil, a gardening mix, mixed with a little bit of fine sand, maybe 2 cups full, just to keep the soil loose. And I also put some biochar in the soil so that the nutrients, when I give this plant fertilizer and so forth, can stick to the biochar and stay in the soil for longer, releasing nutrients over a longer period. So all of that combination should keep this plant happy. At the moment it's in peat and it dries out extremely quickly, but I'm going to be putting it in this new soil in a terracotta pot, so it will still be able to dry out quite quickly in between waterings from the sides, top and bottom. And I know it's not going to be sitting in any water, waterlogged in any way. It has this tray at the bottom. So this is going to work out really well. And I can't wait to see if the leaves on this plant, once I've done this, if they get humongous and big, because that is what I'm looking for. So I was originally thinking I was going to do my inverted sandcastle technique with this. Now this plant is only in a little pot, so I'll see, because I need to see if I can put the plant's pot in there and then the trellis behind, but I don't think that's going to work out for me this time. So what I'm going to have to do is get my trellis first, put that in here and fix that at the back or around, fix that at the back with soil to try and hold it in place. Then I'm going to have to bring up my plant and try and squeeze that into the front of the trellis. I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to do this. We'll have to see. It's going to be a juggling act, because how am I going to hold my trellis into place on my owner's work? It's quite big. I need to grow my octopus arms again. But we'll see how far I get with the 2 arms I have, my 8 fingers and my 2 thumbs. So this is the trellis that I want to put in my pot. This trellis I had on my Repotting tetrasperma. When I first bought that plant, I did a remake on that plant where I put it on this trellis, and you can go back and see that video. That was a long time ago. That plant is still doing fine on a long cocoa fibre stake right up to the top of my ceiling, still doing fine in the corner of my indoor terrace garden. So as you can see, I want this trellis like this in the back of my pot. So I do need some soil in the bottom of the pot anyway to lift this plastic pot that this plant is in over here. So let's just get on with putting some soil around the trellis to start with here and see what happens. I can fill up as much soil as I want around the back of the trellis to try and kind of give it some leverage until I put my plant in front of it. but I'm not going to be able to let it go. I can feel that already. It's just going to fall off. And I really want to put my plant straight into this pot without disturbing the roots as much. So I'm just going to basically lift it up and put it in. So that's the trellis in place. I have my scissors behind here. So maybe to start with, I can do some support work by putting my scissors, or maybe I shouldn't do that actually. Put my scissors a bit on the edge here, just to hold this up for a second. There we go, that worked out. Great. Right, now I need to get my plant into place. So I need this little tray here, because I'm going to get mess everywhere. I don't need this cover pot anymore, away with that. Let's see, pull my sleeves up. I'm going to have to squeeze the pot a little bit to see how the roots are doing. Oh, did you want to have a closer look at this plant before I do this? Because once I'm finished with all this, I definitely won't be able to lift it up and show you. Let's have a little look first at these lovely leaves. So look here, aren't they amazing? And look how big this one leaf is compared to my head. Now that's pretty big already, right, for a little plant. So I'm really excited about this. And just look at that vine, it's growing so wonderfully. And I don't want it to harden off like that. So that's why I needed to get in and do this right now as well. So here we go. Out it comes, out of its plastic pot. I think the roots aren't through the bottom, so it should be able to come out of the pot quite easily. See, little shake. Yeah, it's coming. There we go. Perfect. Beautiful roots. And let's have a look at those close up as well. So look at this. This plant has beautiful roots and not too many, so it's not completely root bound. They just look wonderful, white, happy and fresh. In we go. Now I don't need the scissors holding up the trellis because I can use my other hand if I'm quick. Put my plant into place. Well, that couldn't have been easier, could it? That was perfect. Really perfect. Wow. So pleased about this. That does look wonderful. So now I can just fill out the rest of the soil around the bottom here before I start taking out all these metal pins and reorganizing my plant onto this trellis off of this cocoa fiber frame. So, soil first, and this could get a little bit messy. Just as I thought. Doesn't matter. When you have plants, it's also about mess. When you're working with soil, you can't help that. I love my hands in the soil. I love the smell of the soil. I love knowing that my plants are going to be happy with this good soil around them. Do this side as much as possible before I get to the other side. So there. Do the back where the trellis is. A little bit more. To try and support it up even more. And now I know that this trellis is all the way down to the bottom of the pot. I know that it's going to be quite secure. So that's in, quick and easy, like that. This side, hold those leaves up a little bit, get the plant. And it really doesn't matter if the plant on the stake looks straight or not, because it's not going to have that in the end. It's going to be vining around the trellis. So that will all disappear and you won't think it was wonky or anything like that. So don't worry about that at all during this part of putting the soil in and organising around the trellis. So that side's done. The last side, the only thing I want is the trellis to be straight, but that can always be pulled into place. Soil here at the front, collect some off the table. There we go. Do I have enough here? I think I have enough here. I think I have enough soil now actually already. So I just need to tidy up a little bit here. So everything's clean and tidy here, and I just think my plant looks wonderful. And I've not done this before, but I'm wondering if I don't want to just keep my plant on the trellis so that I don't have to disturb it hardly anything at all, and just take all of the metal pins out, because what happens with the metal pins on these plants when you buy them like this, they are so tight to the stems and the vines that they actually start biting into the plant as it grows, and that leaves brown marks, and that is also places where the plant can get infections, bacterial, fungal infections into the vine. And I can see that it's very tightly around some of these vines, so they really do need to be removed. And I think it's going to be absolutely fine because it looks like this plant has a lot of roots already in the cocoa fibre. So basically, I'll be able to tie this stake to this trellis, and then I can start twining in the vines that are growing beyond the stake onto the trellis. And as they get to the top, I can vine them up and down and around to get the thicker expanse of the trellis, which goes right across to here. And at the top, it's around 80 centimeters wide. So it's going to be really, really nice. So let me just get on with these pins. And if you should see these pins, I'll show you a couple when I take them out. They really are very sharp. So there you go. These are the pins. And if I show you both ways up, so they're like that. And you can see the top part is the part that digs into the plant. And the bottom part, the two ends, are in the cocoa fibre. But these do damage to the plants if you don't pull them out a bit or remove them eventually as the plant grows. So now I have a container here because there are usually so many of these. I mean, you think you've got them all, and then you'll go back and you'll discover there are a few more left in the plant. So I'm just going to, some of them have really gone into these vines and they're quite bad. So I've got to get them all out. The plant doesn't need those. Of course, while the plant is growing and it's young, it needed these to help support them when they didn't have any roots to hold into the stake here, but now these don't need it at all. And they're just doing more damage. There's no way this would have been able to grow out. I can't even get that out. I need my scissors. There's no way this stem would have been able to get thicker without being completely damaged. Wow. If I didn't get that out like that. So some of the ones at the back are a bit difficult for me to reach because of the trellis now, but I'll make it. This is so therapeutic. This is so therapeutic. This is so therapeutic. I love doing things with my plants. There are so many of these. Unbelievable. I don't suggest you do the same with me and do this with scissors because I could chop off my fingers, but this is what I have with me right now. So it looks like, well, I'm saying, no, see, there's one here. Of course, there's more at the top. I haven't looked at the top yet. I was saying I'm getting close to being finished with them, but I'm not, of course. There are many, many more. Where are they? It's like hiding in a little jungle in here. You're so cute, plant. I love you. Right. Okay, I think I've got them all. So here they are, all of these pins. Get these out, but you can keep these and reuse them for another plant that you're starting off on a stake because they're good for beginner plants. But remember to remove them later on. So it would actually seem that this plant has an awful lot of roots that have grown into the cocoa fibre already, which is fine, which is great. I'm going to leave this plant like this because I can get my new big piece and put it straight up there. It will end up being an extra 20 centimetres or so taller than the stake already. So let me just get the cocoa fibre stake tied to the trellis so that that's not going to wobble around And I'm using brown fibre to put around. This is really good because it actually attaches itself to the cocoa fibre at the same time, so it doesn't move around and rub up and down and damage the plant stem. So this is really good. It's not very advisable to use metal or plastic because that can rub or tighten and restrict the plant. But this also kind of degrades away with time if it gets wet or anything like that, and by that time this plant will be growing up and down this trellis and won't need this. This is basically just for the beginning. So I'll tie it in 2 spots just to make sure I've got it where I want it to be, so it doesn't fall forward in any way. And when you do your knots, they also stay in place with this, whereas when you use plastic, you have to do lots more knots because it slides up and down. So that was the first one done. So that's fine and that's good. So the only thing I have left to work on here now is the top piece, this piece, to get this right up. So I need to have some of this twine to get my first piece into place up here. Look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is gorgeous. I want to put 1 leaf there. Oh, actually I don't need twine. It works out itself. So that big leaf is at the front, and then I have a bit of the... No, maybe I do need to. If I really don't want to damage the leaf because it's so gorgeous. If I put that around, then I've already got this twining around. So I'll just put a little bit of twine to hold this vine in place here. And I can do it loosely because the trellis is going to be doing all the work later. There we go. And there is the next one, which will come up and around the back and up to the front there. This leaf looks like it needs to... This leaf doesn't need to come around the back. This leaf, oh, it's so gorgeous, it's big. Can you, yeah, I'll put that in the front. There we go. Well, basically, that's me finished already. This actually went much quicker and easier than I thought. It didn't need much fussing around. I didn't hardly have to touch the roots, just a little bit of soil around. The frame is staying in place, it's solid. It's solid because it's holding onto the stake now as well. The plant's roots didn't have to be disturbed in any way. And this trellis, by the end of this summer, will be covered with vines. This is just going to look so beautiful. That is the first one. And those leaves, as I said, look how big this leaf is. It's bigger than my hand. This one's pretty big, and these ones. And that vine is getting really thick there. So that's just one of the vines. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vines coming up. And there's more and more yellow coming out on the leaves. And if these plants get bright indirect light, you'll get a lot more of that lovely yellow and green variegation. If they're in an area that's too dark, then they'll revert back to more green, but they will still have the variegation because these plants do quite well in a semi-shady situation as well. You'll still get some variegation, but it's much better when they're in bright light. And I had one of these that crawled all around my room in another apartment I had a while back, and it just grew prolifically. And I'm hoping this one's going to do the same, but this time I'm just going to keep it on this frame. So terracotta pot for easy watering and drying and watering. So let this plant dry out in between waterings, not too long a period, but it can take a few days dry, and then water it through again, and it will be very happy. It will also tell you if it needs watering because its leaves will feel thinner, they won't be as perky, they might start hanging, and you'll know, okay, I need to go and give this plant a water, and especially if they start curling or anything like that. But conversely, if the leaves start turning yellow and falling off, that's because maybe you've overwatered your plant, its roots are too saturated, there's not enough oxygen in the soil, and the roots are starting to rot. So be very careful with the overwatering, especially if your plant is in a more shady situation. Absolutely lovely. You don't need to fertilise this plant too much, that's for sure. I did that mistake with one I had, and it actually burnt the plant, it burnt the roots, and it started getting black spots all over the leaves, and that never disappeared afterwards. Every leaf that came out after that kept getting those burn marks. So it's really important that if you do fertilise the plant, just make sure you use a very small amount compared to that it says on the bottle, maybe just a quarter of that. This plant really doesn't need that much. And only do it during the summer season when it's growing out and spurting up like this one is in its growing period. And this plant, it copes very well with normal room temperatures and normal humidity in the room. And it's a very easy plant. It's a very common plant because it's quite easy. And at the same time, it's very beautiful to look at. Why not? And it's such an easy plant to propagate. You can just go in and prune back that vine anywhere there are nodes with just one leaf or more. Put it in water or just put it straight into soil. Keep it moist, keep it warm and bright, and it will take off no problem for you. So anyway, that's all I have for you for this video, seeing as it went so quick and easily. And I just wanted to show you how you can go in and change something up very simply to make it work for you if your plant feels like it's getting out of control for you. You can do the basic thing of just going in and pruning it off, and it will just grow out a new vine from the area where you pruned it off, and you can keep pruning that off if you want to keep a certain level. But it's nice to let your plant keep growing up and down and around, right? So that you get these bigger and bigger leaves growing out. But if the plant is in a kind of shady situation, the leaves probably won't grow that large, but the more bright light, indirect light, and vertical growth, then you can expect your plant to get much bigger and beautiful leaves. Anyway, all I have to say now is thank you very much once again for watching Gardens and Crystals with me, Wesley Peterson. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be coming up. And I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye!